quotation and then we will see. Okay? Reality and the cosmic illusion. We discussed very briefly yesterday that the problem is not that the world is unreal. The problem is that the instruments of knowledge are defective at the lower levels and they start becoming more and more perfect at the higher levels. So you start seeing more and more clearly the reality of the physical world. It's like the spectacles that you are using is out of focus in the lower. The optician has given you wrong spectacles and you are seeing everything not fully wrong, but even if you have got wrong number of this spectacles, you will see the world, but you will see it distorted. So that's what the main problem is. So now we will discuss more in detail about the illusion and the reality. Okay, so keep this in mind. It's an instrumentation through which you are looking. That is the problem. The problem is not the reality of the world at all. The reality of the world is there. Okay, so the first is from the Viveka Chudamani. It is one of the master books of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya is absolutely wonderful. He's got so many books. In fact, I've got a whole set of his books, all in Sanskrit, 14 volumes. 1-4. Of course, he's not a Sri Aurobindo, who has got 40 volumes. But, but even 14 volumes is good enough. Okay, so the eternal is true, the world is a lie. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. So Brahma Satyam is fine, there is no problem. But Jagan Mithya, what sort of Mithya? There can be two types of Mithyas. The absolute falsehood and the way you are looking is not the correct one. So it's the second one that is there and you have to interpret it correctly. Sri Aurobindo agrees that Shankara has been not understood properly because his philosophy is very subtle. Sri Aurobindo gives him very high marks. Okay? So, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Now I go to the next one, the Shvetashvatara. Shveta Ashvatara. Okay, Shveta Ashvatara Upanishad. The master of Maya. So who is the master of Maya? We have to identify all this. The master of Maya is the Ishvara at the supermind level. Okay, he is the in the Gita you have the Purushottama and the Purushottama, Purusha Uttama, the highest Purusha. He is personal as well as impersonal. So the master of Maya creates his world by his Maya. Maya has to be interpreted here as the power to create real forms. But when you are seeing it from a lower level, you see them as illusions because your instrumentation is not very sharp and not very focused. And within it is confined another. Okay? The world is there and creates this world by his Maya, and within it is confined another. One should know his Maya as nature and the master of Maya as the great Lord of all. The great Lord of all is the supreme Brahman, who is the sitting at the highest level of this summit, and he is personal as well as impersonal. Right. The next one, the Purusha is all this that is, what has been and what is yet to be, the past and the future. He is the master of immortality, and he is whatever grows by food. Whatever grows by food is at the lowest level. No? Animals and even plants, they may be food for others, but the plant also is taking soil and sunlight and water as its food. Okay, so everything is the Brahman, the Purusha, that's master of immortality, and he is immortal. All is the divine being. When you say divine, that's in the Gita. Okay? All is the divine being. Sarvam khalu idam Brahman. That's the. But it's in the Gita, and they are given the reference also. Just let me see the footnote. Yeah, it is in chapter 7, verse 19. So, chapter 7, verse 19. Just 1 second. Let me see what that shloka is. Chapter 7, verse 19. Chapter 9, chapter 8, chapter 7, verse 19. Here I am, verse 19. So, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Janavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Okay. So it is Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. That is the quotation that is being referred to. Okay. So, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Now that's highly interesting because Sri Aurobindo saw exactly that. When he was in jail, wherever he is turning, he is seeing only Vasudeva. So, Samahatma Sudurlabha is the next part of the shloka. Such a man is, a Mahatma, is a great man, is very difficult to get in the physical world. So, by definition of the Gita itself, Sri Aurobindo is Mahatma. Fantastic. Absolutely fits the bill. Okay, so we start reading the paragraph. But so far, we have only cleared a part of the foreground of the field of inquiry. He's been inquiring as to the nature of the reality or the unreality of the physical world, and he has examined in close detail the images and given by Shankara to see whether there is any relevance to that. The image of the mirage in the desert, the mistaking the rope for the serpent, and also the dream analogy. And he has gone into great detail for the analogy because he can talk of the intraconscious and what is the reality there. So he has examined all that, and finally he has come to the conclusion, if you remember, that the problem is not the reality of the physical world, but the problem is one of the ignorance. You are using wrong instruments of knowledge. That's the problem. So he is delving now more into the question. But so far we have only cleared a part of the foreground. Even the foreground is not yet clear, let alone the background. The background is the whole part of this book. Part 1, part 2, book 1, book 2, part 1. Okay, so and then finally the evolution. The last one is the evolution. So, so far we have cleared only a part of the foreground and field of inquiry. In the background, the problem remains unsolved and entire. It is a problem of the nature of the original consciousness or power that has created or conceptually constructed or manifested the universe. So, what is this divine consciousness which is creating illusion, and why is it doing so? That's a problem. So that he takes so many chapters to explain. Okay? And you have to go into many concepts. It is the problem of the nature of the original consciousness or power. So you could consider it consciousness or the power, because power is the one that is creating. So that is created or conceptually constructed. Created would be the reality. Conceptually constructed could be the image only in the mind, an abstract image which is not corresponding to reality. Conceptually created. We are conceptually creating all the time. Now, whenever we have got an imagination, okay, whenever we are having an imagination in our mind, it is conceptual creation. Okay. Or manifested the universe, or really manifested the universe. So these are the things that you have to examine. And the relation to it of our world cognition. By the way, he has given you three things: created, conceptually constructed, or manifested the universe. So what's the difference between created and manifested the universe? Created is, he is creating something other than himself. Okay? God is one, but he has created the world, and the world has nothing to do with him. This is, to a certain extent, you can again think of the painter and the painting. Okay? Something of the painter is there in the painting, but the painting is quite different from the painter. Okay? So that's the word created. But when you're saying manifested, that means what is there potent in him, potentially in him, he is only bringing it out. So that's the difference. That's why he has used three words: created, or conceptually constructed and manifested universe. So clear? See how precise he is in his words. We have to go behind the words and see what he is saying. Created, it need not be anything of himself. He has created something. A scientist has created a mobile. A scientist has created the computer. He has created the TV. That's a creation. Okay? So, conceptually constructed in the mind. Is it a construction in the mind or is it a manifestation? Now, Sri Aurobindo will tell you afterward the real spiritual solution is it is a manifestation of the universe. Whatever is there already potentially in him, he is manifesting it. He has already given you a hint of the solution. And the relation to it of our world cognition. Okay. How is our understanding of things, our knowledge, which is gradually increasing and becoming better and better the knowledge, how is it connected to the original consciousness? Or to keep it simple, how is our understanding connected to God? Okay. Imposed on our mind by the supreme force of illusion or a true formation of being experienced by us with a still ignorant but an increasing knowledge. There you are. Okay. So, which one is it? That's what it is. Going to examine further whether the universe is a figment of imagination, total unreality. Your imagination is a constructed, conceptually constructed. This is equivalent to figment of imagination. Imposed on our mind, like the projector in a cinema is imposing images on the screen. So that's imposition. And you are thinking that the images are real, forgetting that they are being projected onto a screen. Okay? That's the nature of the world. That's why the cinema is a very good example of Mayavada. Okay? The figment of images imposed on our mind by a supreme force of illusion or a true formation. Is it really that? Is it only images? Or is it true formation of being experienced by us, but we are still ignorant and increasing knowledge? So obviously, this is the solution that Sri Aurobindo is going to follow and prove. It's a true formation of being experienced by us, but in ignorance. So ignorance is semi-knowledge, and therefore you are not seeing it correctly. That's a real solution. The other two are not solutions at all. Okay? So, we are only anticipating, but he is going to argue and see step by step. And the true question is not of mind alone, or of a cosmic dream, or a cosmic hallucination born of mind, but the nature of reality. The validity of the creative action that takes place in it or is imposed upon it. The presence or absence of a real content in its or our consciousness and its or our regard on the universe. So, is the problem ours or is it really something in the universe which is not right? Look at the language carefully. Where is the problem? That's what we are discussing. Is it really in the universe outside me or is it the perceiver? Is that the problem? Okay. In its consciousness or in our regard on the universe. On behalf of illusionism, it can be answered. Now be very careful. This is not Sri Aurobindo's opinion at all. Not an opinion, it's a view. Sri Aurobindo has no opinions. On behalf of illusionism, it can be answered. Now he is making the Mayavadan answer. Okay? He is saying this will be the answer of the Mayavadan. On behalf of illusionism, it can be answered to the position put forward by us. We are saying that the physical world is real, but now the Mayavadan will argue against me and tell me, okay, that's what he's saying, with regard to the truth of existence, that all this might be valid within the bounds of the cosmic illusion. If you are in the physical world, okay, I am a Mayavadan and I accept what you are saying. I accept that my instrumentation is wrong and therefore it's the responsibility for the illusion is myself. Okay, I agree with that. He is saying. But now you see further what he will say. He will say that if you go out of the physical world, that argument does not stand. That's what the Mayavadan will tell you. It is the system, the pragmatic machinery by which Maya works and maintains herself in the ignorance. But the truths, possibilities, actualities of the cosmic system are true and actual only within the illusion. This is what he will say. So long as you are in the physical world, yes, what you are seeing is real. The Mayavadan will say, real to you, to your consciousness. They have no, but outside that magic circle, they have no validity. This is the argument of the Mayavadan. So, what he will tell you is, oh, Srendo, you are saying that the physical world is real? Okay. The man, ordinary man with his eyes and ears and all, he is seeing the physical world as real. Okay, I accept. It is real to him. But if you go outside the world, you go into the second level of the spiritual planes of consciousness, the world is not real. It becomes an illusion. That's what he will answer. And Srila has to answer this argument also. Okay, this is the way. I'll just tell you, Srela's way of examining a thing is, he will make a statement. Then he will raise objections to it. That's what he's doing now. And the objections are from the opponent to his view. But he himself will raise the objections better than the opponent. And he will think of objections which even the opponent cannot think of. And then he will answer all the opponents again. So this is the method he follows throughout lifetime. Okay? He will make a statement and then examine the statement and raise objections to it, and then he will give solutions to the objections also. Okay? So this is clear. You have to you might get confused with the words, but the thing is, Sremda is saying what we have put forward is that the world is real, but you are seeing it as not real when you are going to the higher level. So the Mayavadi will answer, what you are saying is true, sir. We agree that the physical world is real, but to the man who is ignorant, it is real. We can't deny that I am seeing and the world is real to me, my book is real, my computer is real. So that's what Mayavadi will say, yes, you are right, but you are right at the lower level. But please, go to the second level of the spiritual planes of consciousness, the world becomes unreal. Okay? So, you are not very right, the Mayavadi will tell you. What will Sremda reply to him? Okay, oh Mayavadin, you are saying that what I am saying is true at the lowest level, and you are saying it is wrong at the second level. I am asking you to go to the third level, and you will see that what I am saying is absolutely true. That will be Sremda's answer. Okay, so this is the argument that he will follow. I have anticipated to make it clear to you what his stand is and how he argues. Okay, they are not so outside the magic circle. Which is the magic circle? The physical world. Why is it magic? Because something which is not right is being seen as right. So it's a magic. Okay? The infinite is becoming finite. The formless is becoming form. So it's a magic. That's a Maya. He is using the word and interpreting it as Maya. They have no validity. They are not abiding and eternal reality. They are all temporary figures. Everything in the physical world will disappear. The works of knowledge no less than the works of ignorance. This is what the Mayavadi will answer. Okay? Now Sremda may say, let us see the sentence and then we'll see. It can be considered that knowledge is a useful instrument for the illusion of Maya. Sorry, no, it's a Mayavadi continuing his argument. It can be considered that knowledge is a useful instrument of the illusion of Maya for escaping from herself, for destroying herself in the mind. So, I'll read the whole sentence, then we'll see. Spiritual knowledge is indispensable, but the one true truth, the only abiding reality, beyond all duality of ignorance, of knowledge and ignorance, is the eternal, relationless, absolute, or the self, the eternal pure existence. Okay, this is the Mayavadan continuing his argument. He will tell you, I concede to you that when your knowledge is half real, Still, it's a useful instrument. Your senses are useful instruments, and you are seeing the physical world as real. I grant you reality at that level. But please go to the spiritual planes of consciousness and you will see that the reality, okay, is absolute, and that's the only reality. That's a nirvana experience. It is so real that in comparison the physical world is unreal. That is what the Mayavadin will answer. Okay? The only truth is that the world is not true. That's what the Mayavadin will say. Okay? I am anticipating, but Srinivas will tell him, why are you stopping at the second level? Please go to the third level and you will see that I am again right. Okay? So that's the way he is putting the problem in language. Spiritual knowledge is indispensable. That's what the Mayavadin will tell you. Okay, you are in the physical world and you are using your senses, fine, no problem. But the real truth is in the spiritual knowledge. Go to the second level. That is the reality. But the one true truth, the only abiding reality, beyond all duality of knowledge and ignorance, is the eternal, relationless absolute, or the self, the eternal pure existence. That's a Mayavadic answer. Now Sridhar is saying, all here turns on the mind's conception and the mental being's experience of reality. For according to the mind's experience or conception of reality, will be its interpretation of data, otherwise identical, the facts of the cosmos, individual experience, the realization of the supreme transcendence. So, what is common to both? Mental conception. Even in the physical world, the senses are giving data to the mind and the mind is deciding. And when the mind goes outside the first level, it is again conceiving through the mind. Therefore, what is common to mind? But is there a thing which can be in the third level? Can the mind go to the third level where you are likely to see something else again? That's what he's saying. All mental cognition depends on three elements. There we are. Percipient, the perception, and the thing perceived or percept. This is Sridhar's answer to the Mayavadi. Fine, you are arguing with me. I am now saying I want to go a little more deep. Knowledge, all knowledge, whatever it is, at any level, is three things. There is the one who wants to know, he is a knower, and he wants to know something which is outside himself to be known. And there is the process of knowing, which is knowledge. So these three things are essential for all knowledge. Now, he says, all or any of these three can be affirmed or denied reality. Now let's see whether this is experienceable or not. So, first of all, the percept, the physical world can be seen as real, that is Sridhar's idea and the Gita's idea, but it can also be seen as false, that's the Mayavadic idea and the Buddhistic idea. Then let us see perception. Okay, perception is the knowledge. So knowledge also can disappear. There are people who say that the knowledge of reality is impossible. You can never know it. And again you come to the percipient, the individual soul. Is he there or is it a fiction of the imagination? There are some who say that there is no soul at all. That's the Buddhistic solution also. It's only the ego. You just remove the ego, there is no individual. So all can be denied or all can be affirmed. All or any of these three can be affirmed or denied reality. The question then is, which of these, if any, are real and to what extent or in what manner? If all three are rejected as instruments of a cosmic illusion, the further and consequent question arises, is there then a reality outside them? And if so, what is the relation between the reality and the illusions? Okay, so if you say that all of them are wrong, is it possible that there is another field? The Mayavada is telling you there are two fields. There is the world field and there is the spiritual field. The world field, yes, you will see right. You will see reality according to yourself. According to me, that's not the reality, because you are wrong perception. You go to the physical world, spiritual world, and you will see the reality which is the Brahman. And you will see then that the physical world is unreal. Now Srila is saying, could there be a third world in which we see differently? And if it is so, then what is the relation between the third world and the second world and the first world? That's what he's saying. So now the arguments start one by one. Okay? It's going into great detail. Until now, clear? So, we go to the next paragraph. It is possible to affirm. Yes. Yeah. So one by one, he will start. So the first case he says is, the percept is real. That's the first case he will take. And also he's saying it's a supposition, huh? Mind you, it's a supposition. It is possible to affirm. So we will let us examine the case where the physical world is real. Then why are they seeing unreal? Let us examine the perception and the percipient. So he'll go step by step. Okay? So let's read the paragraph. I've told you this is very difficult because each one we will have to see case number 1, case number 2, case number 3. Okay, so first he is examining whether I accept that the physical world is real. Then why are you saying unreal? That's the argument. Could it be that the knowledge is wrong, or could it be that the percipient himself is wrong? So let's read the paragraph. Who will read?
I'm reading, Rangadhar.
Okay, go ahead.
It is possible to affirm the reality of the percept of the objective universe and deny or diminish the reality of the percipient individual and his perceptive consciousness. In the theory of the sole reality of matter, consciousness is only an operation of matter energy in matter, a secretion or vibration of the brain cells, a physical reception of images, and a brain response, a reflex action, or a reaction of matter to the contacts of matter. Even if the rigidity of this affirmation is relaxed and consciousness otherwise accounted for, still, it is no more than a temporary and derivative phenomena, not the enduring reality. The percipient individual is himself only a body and brain capable of the mechanical reactions we generalize under the name of consciousness. The individual has only a relative value and a temporary reality. But if matter turns out to be itself unreal or derivative and simply a phenomena of energy, as seems now to be the probability, then energy remains as the sole reality, the percipient, his perception, the perceived object are only phenomena of energy. But an energy without a being or existence possessing it or a consciousness supplying it, an energy working originally in the void. For the material field in which we see it at work is itself a creation, looks itself very much like a mental construction, an unreality. Or it might be a temporary, inexplicable outbreak of motion which might cease at any time to create phenomena. The void of the infinite alone would be enduring and real. The Buddhist theory of the percipient and the perception and the percept as a construction of karma, the process of some cosmic fact of action, gave room to such a conclusion, for it led logically to the affirmation of the non-being, void, or nihil. It is possible indeed that what is at work is not an energy but a consciousness. As matter reduces itself to energy, seizable by us not in itself but in its results and workings, so energy could be reduced to action of a consciousness, seizable by us not in itself but in its results and workings. But if this consciousness is supposed to work similarly in a void, we are exposed to the same conclusion that it is a creator of temporary phenomenal illusions of itself and itself illusory. Void, an infinite zero, and original non existence is alone the enduring reality. But these conclusions are not binding, for behind this consciousness, seizable in its works only, there may be an invisible original existence. A conscious energy of that existence could then be a reality. Its creation, too, made out of an infinitesimal substance of being impalpable to the senses, but revealed to them at a certain stage of the action of energy as matter, would be real, as also the individual emerging as a conscious being of the original existence in a world of matter. This original reality might be a cosmic spiritual existence, a pantheos, or it might have some other status. But in any case, there would be not a universal illusion or mere phenomena, but a true universe.
Okay. Very complicated argument. Each phrase we have to look very carefully. Again, Sridhar is following the whole thing, the same process. He is making a statement and finding an objection to it. He is making another statement, finding an objection to it. He is answering the objection, and the answer again is being examined. So this is the process. So it's a very, very complicated thing, and we will go step by step and see what he is saying. Okay, so maybe what I can do is, I'll first read the summary and then we'll look at the details. Okay, it might help. But I've told you it's very complicated because each phrase is answering and he is objecting. He is answering and he is objecting. The objection is coming from the opponent, but he is himself the opponent and the objector and the answer, the one who is answering the objection. Okay, so now, first case, let us say that the physical world is real. In that case, why are the others seeing it as unreal? Let us see the other two. Let us see perception, let us see percept. Okay? Perception and the perceiver. Let us see. That's what he said. I am reading the summary. It is possible to assert the sole reality of the percept, that means the physical world, the objective universe, not necessarily only in the universe, okay? And reduce the importance of the perceiver and the perception. Now, is there a philosophy like that? Of course. Materialistic philosophy is exactly that. The materialist scientist is saying matter is the only reality. Okay, there are animals and there are human beings, but they are all coming from matter. So matter is the only ultimate reality. That is the materialism. So, because a man comes, an animal comes, but they disappear. They are only chemical effervescence, okay? Chemical productions of matter. That's what he will answer. Now, of course, they are changing, but this was written 100 years ago and is finding the arguments for it. So, the world is real. We start from there. Materialism stresses the sole reality of matter, and the individual body, life, mind, and individual consciousness are seen as products of matter. Even if consciousness has another origin other than matter, still its importance and primacy is diminished. Okay? Because somebody may answer, no, matter is not the only creator. You are saying consciousness is created by matter. That's what we call the biocentrism. In matter there is no consciousness, but as soon as life comes in, there is consciousness. That is the theory of the. But somebody can answer, why are you assuming that only matter has got consciousness, or matter is producing consciousness? Somebody else may be also producing. That's just anticipating and giving an answer. Even if consciousness has another origin, other than matter, still its importance and primacy is diminished. The individual is an amalgamation, a compendium of body, life and mind, which are really matter. But now science itself says that matter is really only energy. So if you look carefully, you will see that matter is energy. So now let us examine energy. That's what he's saying. But can energy exist by itself independently? Or does it depend upon something? Does it depend upon substance, a substance? Okay? Without consciousness and substance, is it possible? All we know is charcoal is a substance and it produces energy. Uranium is a substance and it produces energy. The sun is a substance and it is producing energy. So wherever we see the results of energy. We don't see the energy itself. The source we don't see. If so, it would be, I'm reading the summary. If so, it will be creating in temporary bursts of activity, transient phenomena that nobody can deny. Everything in the physical world is producing temporary bursts of activity, transient phenomena. That temporary burst can be for a few seconds, it can be for 1 week, like the butterflies, it can be for maybe 3, 4, 1 year or 2 years. Cats and dogs live for 12 years. Human beings can live for 100 years. Trees can live for 400 years, but it's all temporary. Okay? So it would be creating a temporary burst of activity, transient phenomena. We then again land up with the nirvana theory of the Buddhists. In other words, the physical world is only energy, and energy is not supported by any substance. Then we come to the Buddhist theory. Okay? So Buddhist theory is a sort of conclusion from the materialistic theory. That's what he's saying. It is karma that creates percept, perceiver, and perception. All illusion. But so that's a conclusion if you take materialism far enough. Now he goes to the next one. But can energy exist without Sat and Chit? In other words, can it exist without consciousness, and can energy also exist without a substance? That's what he's going to explain. Look at. The spiritual truth will tell you that no, energy cannot exist by itself. It has to exist with Sat, Chit and Ananda. It has to depend on all. It's a product of Satchidananda. It can't stand by itself without Sat, Chit and Ananda. Okay? Energy is power. Shakti cannot stand by itself. It is part of the quad, if you want. The quad. Another explanation is possible. Just as matter resolves itself into energy, so too energy can resolve itself into consciousness. So science has found out that matter is really energy. In other words, it is subtler. The reality is not the gross matter, but it is subtler energy. Now simply saying, if you grant that, how can you say that there is not something even subtler than energy, which is creating energy? So that also is possible. That's what he's saying. See how complicated it becomes. So, another explanation is possible. Just as matter resolves itself into energy, so too energy can resolve itself into consciousness. But again, is consciousness the only creator with nothing to back it? That also is another question. How to know that consciousness is the last? Could there be something else supporting consciousness? And we find that Sat, existence, substance, backs consciousness and aids in the creation of the universe. So if you go steadily one by one, not only in argument but in experience, you see that the physical world is matter accepted. But matter now, science itself is saying it is energy, again accepted. But the energy, if you look carefully again, it is supported by consciousness, and consciousness is again supported by Sat. Sat is the subtlest of substance. Okay? So this is what he comes to examining slowly one by one. It's a question of logic and the physical part of the accepting some of the arguments of science. We have now arrived at Satchidananda as the ultimate reality that creates a real world and not illusions. So we then have a real universe. So even if we start with the universe is true and you go step by step, you see that it is really ultimately real. So we accept that the physical world is real. Now, this is what he's saying. But in the next paragraph, he'll say, we started with the theory that the physical world is real, and we examined all the questions, and we came to the fact that, yes, the physical world is real. Now let us start from the other, okay, that the physical world is unreal, and see what the thing is. We'll argue further, okay. So, but before that, he is going to examine more the question of the physical world being real. Okay, what's the time? 8:31. I think we can read the next para. Yeah, we can do that. It's a very small para, so we'll do that. So, Archana read the first one. So, any one of you read the next one? Soki, you are.
I can read.
Okay, you have come after many days. All right, read it. In the classical theory.
In the classical theory of illusionism, a soul and supreme spiritual existence is accepted as the one reality. It is by its essentiality the self, yet the natural beings of which it is the self are only temporary appearances. It is in its absoluteness the substratum of all things, but the universe erected on the substratum is either a non-existence, a semblance, or else in some way unreally real. It is a cosmic illusion. For the reality is one without a second, it is immutable in eternity, it is the sole existence. There is nothing else. There are no true becomings of this being. It is and must forever remain void of name, feature, formation, relation, happening. If it has a consciousness, it can only be a pure consciousness of its own absolute being. But what then is the relation between the reality and the illusion? By what miracle or mystery does the illusion come to be? Or how does it manage to appear or to abide in time forever?
Continuing the argument. So now, if we start from the theory that the physical world is real, and we go back and see what is there, spiritual experience tells us that the physical world is real. So that we accept. But the theory of illusion is saying that the world is not true. So let's look at that again. I told you now that he makes a statement and he examines again the opposite view. Now the opposite view is, you have argued that if you start from the theory that the physical world is real, even argumentatively you see that yes, it leads to Satchidananda finally, but it is true. Now again let us see what the Mayavada is saying. Okay, so we have only 1 minute, so what I'll do, I'll read the summary and next time we'll look at it carefully. It's a very complicated chapter because you have to keep in mind what are the arguments he has already made. Okay, so just 1 second. Yeah, I've got it. So now he is saying, now let us examine the theory that the percept, the world, is unreal. Okay, now he comes to that. And only the perceiver is real. But who is the perceiver? Is it the individual soul or is it the Brahman, the supreme soul? Who is looking? Who is looking at the reality? Is it the individual being or is it the universal? Or is it the supreme soul? Who is looking at it? The perceiver is the individual soul. The question is discussed on page 464, para 11. Okay. The perceiver is the individual soul, yes. But if it is the not the individual soul and Brahman, then what? So that's why now again see subdivisions. So the physical world is unreal, we are starting with that. So who is seeing it as unreal? Is it the individual or is it the universal? So now he will say, we will discuss this. The perceiver is the individual soul and we will discuss that later on. Right now let us discuss whether it's a Brahman who is seeing the physical world. So in the theory of classical illusionism, Mayavada, there is only supreme reality, but its natural becomings are transient images. So we have started with the theory, now the argument is the world is unreal. And then we have to accept Mayavada. And Mayavada is saying there is only one reality, and that's a Brahman. So there is no question of the perceiver being true. So it's only the Brahman who is looking at his own creations, and what he is creating is illusions. There is only supreme reality, but its natural becomings are transient images. That supreme is the only reality. It is the substratum, the base of all created things, which are therefore either unreal or half real. shadows, rainbows, etc. The Supreme Self is featureless, nameless, relationless, immutable, ever the same. The Mayavada is saying there is a reality, but it's not the physical world. Okay? But if it is like that, if it is so, we may ask ourselves, what is the relation of the Supreme Reality to the universal illusion? If the Supreme Reality is the only truth, why is it creating the illusion? And what is the relation? How does it create the illusion? Let us see the process. That's what I'm saying. How did the universe originate? And how does it maintain itself eternally? That's another thing. I am producing things in time and space, but how is it that it is going on producing? It is never ending. I agree that these things are transient, he's saying, but how is it that transient things are going on coming, going on coming, going on coming? Who is supporting it? That's what he will look at. That's what he's saying in the Bible. So you can see how complicated the arguments are. Okay, so it's only a brief. So actually you have to note down. Okay, case number one, the physical world is real. Then when you come to the next one, you have to again note down. Second argument, the physical world now we are starting is unreal. Then he will examine whether the unreality is being seen by the individual soul or the divine. Then he will examine if the divine is seeing what happens and if the individual soul is seeing what happens. So like that it goes on, goes on, goes on into so many different channels. So it's not easy to keep a track. I tried to keep a track, but maybe I can try again. But when I was in knowledge, I realized the structure of the whole chapter, but it is not easy to keep a track of what he's saying because it goes into huge details. It goes into divisions and subdivisions and subdivisions. Okay. Each statement is examined in detail. So it goes into great. It's like one thing producing an infinite number of branches. But we'll try. Okay. So maybe after we finish the chapter, I might try again to see the divisions and subdivisions. But I'll need a paper as large as a table. Because when you start noting down, one will become two, and each of these will become again 2 or 3, and again that will become again 3 or 4. It's like that. All right, we are now past our time, so I stop here today. Okay. So Sumki, note, okay, that we have to read next time, next Wednesday, we have to redo this one. Okay.
Yes.
Redo in the classical scale. 457. Page 457 in the classical scale. We'll read.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Rangana.
Okay. Au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.